am Eshkalar, the world's greatest Canadian wizard, and this is part of an ongoing series. Matter of fact, this is lesson 10, as in an ongoing series called Your Fighting Arts is Wrong. You notice that I posted lesson 11 before. That's because this is lesson 10. It's on timing, and you see how I made with the, see what I did there. So anyway, today I want to talk about things that people believe in but are absolutely untrue. Yeah, I know. That I'm the world's greatest lover. I know somebody believes that. I'm an army of one. So anyway, I want to talk about Tarzan today because your Tarzan is wrong. You're noble savage, you're ape man, you're raised by the anthropoid apes in the depths of the jungle of Swaziland and got known by the Wajiri people and did a lot of stuff, and I think he taught the elephants calculus, and he did a bunch of cool stuff, you know, and then eventually there was a spin-off called George of the Jungle. Well, Bella and Ursula stayed in step. If you don't know why that's funny, you're not Canadian. But your Tarzan was wrong. A full-grown male ape, even the so-called anthropoid ape, which we were guessing was only about twice the weight of an ordinary human being. Because the big apes, 450 pounds, they get big. And they're packed with muscle. I'm not sure if you understand how muscular they are, but if you were 450 pounds and you could arm over arm yourself up a tree, you'd understand what I'm talking about. Not many broad Strowmen can't do it, let me tell you. Andre the Giant, no way. Paul White, he is very athletic for a big man, I must say. So, I think he took the most bad bumps of any of the giants, Paul did. So, in that wise, I have respect for him. So anyway, Tarzan, I'm going to say weighs about 180 pounds. It's pretty good muscle. It's ripped. He was ripped, I'll bet, right? He looks like he come right out of a magazine, right? Tarzan of the Apes. He's got the lats. He's ready to go. 180 pounds. He could play football. He could probably play basketball. But you know what? He could not exceed human performance vectors and factors. Even if Jimmy the jumping giraffe, who could jump higher than any other giraffe, tried to teach him, he could only jump as high as a human could. And since Tarzan was a white man, we know the joke, right? Genetic inferiority goes the wrong way. I wish more white people would understand that. So anyway. So what happens? Well, Tarzan would be as strong as a 180-pound man could be. As fit as a 180-pound man could be that ate all that roughage. And no meat. Maybe a little meat, because the big apes eat meat. Not a lot, but they seem to have a taste for it. Once in a while they'll grab some little helpless animal, rip it to pieces and spread it around. Chimps do that more, I think, than some of the others. And baboons, well, baboons are pretty much like the dogs of the desert, if you know what I mean. Baboon ain't afraid to eat a little bit of anything that's sticking out. So I wouldn't have one for a girlfriend. Some of them said I was like that with her boyfriend, but you know, I just bring 2 bags. One for me and one for her in case mine breaks. So there you go. Anyway, the great apes, all of them, even bonobos, and they're tiny compared to the big ones, but the great apes, chimpanzees, orangs, orangutan, even gibbons, but I would say chimpanzee, orangutan, mountain gorilla, right? Those are the ones I know best. These guys are big. Except for chimpanzees, the other ones are bigger than men. They grow bigger than men. They weigh more than men. They are packed with more muscle per pound of body weight than any man. And they are strong in a different way that men are strong. See, you think you could do a bunch of reps there and, you know, gradually increasing weights, and someday you could like wrestle a gorilla. No. If I understand this correctly, it hasn't happened to me. I didn't see it happen in a fight. I've seen it happen with other animals that weren't chimpanzees, but they were a lot bigger and stronger. But a full grown male chimpanzee could just about pull your arms out of their sockets and beat you over the head with them. And he's only about 4.5 feet tall. I call that hysterical strength because his hormones are wired up to a different standard than mine are. Mine are pretty much mojo. I'm like, yeah, I think I'm paranoid. I'm not paranoid like a chimp is. A chimp is wired into paranoid mode all the time, even when he's acting calm. He is ready in a hair's breadth to go all nature red and claw and fang on you or somebody. Bite your face off. Look it up, it happened. And chimps, you have to know the apes, right? Chimps mitigate social tension through violence. This is a real thing. Eshkalar teaches real stuff. I'm not always right, but when you hear something like that from me, you're like, yeah, that's probably right. And then you go look it up to make sure that I'm not just bullshitting you. And you'd be like, see, now I know something. You won't say, oh, Eshkalar was smart, because I don't care if you think that. You know you don't care either. You just want to know the right stuff, and that's that moment I give you the right stuff. Chimps mitigate social tension through violence. Look it up. Now, they show them all pretty and nice in the habitats, and they don't show you when they're doing other stuff. And that's good, but it gives a false picture. Chimpanzee society isn't like human society, isn't based on the same tensions. This is important stuff to know. But again, why chimps are so strong? It is leverage, muscle arms, muscle mass versus body mass, percentage. You know about that if you're a weightlifter or anything. And the fact that they are wired on their hormones to the point where it's like being a speed freak all the time for a second. And I look at a chihuahua. That same vibrating intensity is going on in a chimpanzee's liquid brown eyes. Yeah, you can't read it because you're not a chimp. And chimps can't even read it. They lead with their hand. And you'll notice there are times when you'll find a chimp with a finger bitten off because this is how they check the water if they think you're mad at them. And if you're mad at them, you might just bite a finger off because chimps mitigate social tension through violence. As opposed to bonobos, a much smaller, the smallest of the great apes. It looks like a little chimp. Like a chimp standing about this tall, a bonobo standing about this tall. And bonobos are the most affectionate creatures on Earth. Well, except for maybe otters. There's a dark story there. But at any rate, bonobos mitigate, their social structure is set up so as to mitigate social tension through sex. Now, this isn't sex to completion. It is honorific, going through the motions. There's no intent. The only intent is social bonding. And it works for them. So there's very little violence compared to comparing bonobo society and chimpanzee society. There's very little violence on the bonobo side compared to the chimpanzee side. Chimpanzees are brutes. I like them. Nobody is as much fun to drink with than a chimpanzee in one of those things full of rubber balls. I was doing that one time with me and the 4 chimpanzee kids. We were all, Spriggle and Chim Chim's friends, from back in the day. And we was all, phew, yeah. With magic, you can make booze over 200 proof. So you can imagine how drunk we were. And watching them chimpanzees trying to walk across them balls, getting lost, and laughing and screaming. Wow. Then you tickle them, they try to kill you. And they can't because they're too drunk. Living on the edge, that's what it takes to be a hero. You gotta have something to keep you awake, If you ain't got skunk, well, mortal fear of death is like, is a good stimulant. So, anyway. So that bonobo which is a small primate, smallest of the great apes, if it could be taught to make a fist, could put that fist right through you, and you couldn't do it to it. Even if your 180-pound Tarzan trained his whole life, every day, every day, every day. Hey, we got friends that do that now. Jay, you're more trained than Tarzan was. No kidding. You also got a better physique. You're jacked, man. So anyway, but no matter how good Tarzan was, he was still going to be a man. He wasn't going to be wired hormonally or muscularly, histologically, like one of those apes. Any of those apes could beat him in a battle. He could hurt it if he got a good, solid punch there, on the chin of that great ape before it like bowls him over and tears him into little bitty goblets and shares it out with the kids so they'll know what meat tastes like. It happens. Chimpanzees are known for it, but all the great apes have been known to kill an occasional helpless animal. I think I said that earlier. So it must be true. See, somebody else said it. Well, it was me, but still, it had been said more than once. I have a friend who used to say, I don't believe anything until I've seen it in black and white at least twice. So I sent him 2 letters. He never spoke to me again. Social tensions, he mitigated it through absence. Absence makes the heart go flounder. Wait, what was that? Abscess makes the... This is the A material. I'm never going to get to the end of it, so I'm going to finish the story here. That chimpanzee, that orangutan, that great ape, can walk over Tarzan, right over him. Even if Tarzan had a knife, those apes are faster than he is because of the way they're wired up on their hormones. They are faster than he is. And their brains are wired differently. A chimpanzee is the very best at playing Guess Who. You know what Guess Who is? It's a game where you flip over to try to match people. It teaches kids to identify their abusers. What did he look like? That's what it is. It's a game to teach you to look for shady men in the neighborhood and, keep your kids safe. So, that's a thing. So anyway, so what happens in a case like that is there is no Tarzan. Because any fight he had with a regular ape would have just ended him right there. Any chimpanzee would have bit his face off, because they do that. Or bit his hand off, because they do that. Or bit his finger off, and they do that. Now, what would Tarzan look like with 4 fingers on each hand? 4-finger Tarzan. There's a story I want to read. 9-finger Frodo, 4-finger Tarzan. Hey, pour me 4 fingers of Tarzan. Say, yeah, it's the A material. So there isn't any Tarzan. He couldn't climb a tree that fast. He can't climb a tree with the effortless one-handed grace of an ape and grab a branch and swing his feet up and then pull himself up. He ain't got that. Never did. Never will. The humans we know were never arboreal. Now, if you believe in the doctrine of evolution, that things gradually breed themselves out of existence as a species, and hopefully some of the new breeds will take over as separate species and fill whatever ecological niches are open. But in any case, we are not closely related to arboreal apes. We can't be. We don't have the huge upper body mass compared to the lower body mass that it takes to be like that. Even our men aren't, overbalanced as we are with them big pecs. I'm cute, baby. Come see him sometime. But no, we don't got it. There could be no Tarzan. Any Tarzan that went up against almost any animal of the jungle would be dead. And I mean almost any animal of the jungle. Meerkats have killed man if they wanted to. They could attack him and swarm, and that's the end. Meerkats. What an embarrassing end. Cause of death. Salamanders. Ooh, in Japan that might have been a thing once upon a time, but not anymore. Anyway, so there you go. There could be no Tarzan. Your Tarzan is wrong. There could be no human raised by apes that could be as strong as the apes, or as fast as the apes, or as capable of fighting and absorbing damage and dealing it out as the apes. Apes are not chumps. Just because their hands aren't made to hold a .45 doesn't mean, double negatives, I hate it, that they are incapable of dealing damage out with their hands. with their fists, with their elbows, with their mass, with their bodies. If you've ever seen, and you could do this, Google, right, ape pounds glass, on YouTube, you'll see it. They're apes that they can beat on these Lexan plates, which are thicker than any Lexan I ever worked with. So they're big, over an inch thick. And they should be able to withstand an impact beyond that we can expect of ordinary creatures. And a big ape can walk up and go boom, it'll bow in, and you hear it like a vast timpani. Wake up the babies, make them cry. A human would sound like this. Thump, thump. Lions scratching at it like this, trying to get the babies through the glass. You hear it go, and you hear a person go, thump, thump. So imagine how hard that bull ape is hitting that Lexan to make it go boom and bow in. Yeah, and Tarzan couldn't do that. Tarzan couldn't do that if he had help. If he was wearing Sigourney Weaver's exoskeleton, he still couldn't do that. So your Tarzan is wrong. The way to be a Tarzan, if there was one, would be to be a pygmy. Because pygmies are pretty much Tarzan already. They're not arboreal, but the big apes aren't really arboreal either. They tend to, the gorillas, they make nests, but then they come down in the daytime. They don't go up in the trees at all unless they feel endangered, or when they're sleeping at night. So there's your Tarzan. Your best chance to be Tarzan would be a pygmy, and to be an expert archer as a pygmy, and to be expert with a machete or whatever your long blade is as a pygmy. The one they use to cut forest elephants' tendons. Pygmies kill elephants. Men kill elephants. I didn't used to believe that was possible because I just couldn't see it happening. But then I see how it happens, because you got pygmies that are willing to die to keep the elephant's attention, and you got pygmies that are willing to die to creep in behind the elephant and chop his tendons so he can't stand up. Then you see an elephant who's perfectly healthy, but his Achilles tendons are chopped, and so he's like crouched down on his hind legs and can't ever move again. He's done. You can't fix that. That elephant's dead. And then pygmies are sticking him spears where he can't reach. Oh, it's a terrible thing. This is nothing I'm making up. This is true. There are whole tribes of pygmies that lived on the forest elephants till they got so scarce. And wow, that's a man. You're 4 foot tall, and you're taking on elephants. You ain't a wimp. You're a serious man. Now there's your Tarzan, but you don't do it alone either. You do it with a whole village full of people. And you're using the time-honored party dialectic. I'm going to explain this to you as my last point, because you know how long I run on. It's unfair to you, but I like the sound of my own voice. The party dialectic. You have a tank. The tank's job is to keep your opponent focused on the tank. The tank is heavily armored and able to do what's called turtling, to take those blows on his shield and his metal arms and his helmet and all that, right? And then behind him, you got what you call your DPSers, damage per second types. They got crossbows and longbows, and they're throwing spears and javelins. See? Well, they might even run around behind him and hit him with something, right? But they can't hit the monster so hard that the monster will ignore the tank and go for them, because if that happens, the party's dead. No, the tank's got to keep that monster's attention, while those other guys manage to do enough damage to put it down. And that's what it takes to kill elephants. You got two guys out front that are tanks. They're going, come get me, come get me. And the elephant's like, raw. Then it rears up to kill him, and then guys come in from behind with axes going, chomp. Wow, for that blade, It's like a straight kukri, it's got like a leaf blade. They use that. Well, they used to use it. Now they use different things, of course. The Mau Mau's trade all kinds of stuff with them, so they could probably get a regular machete if they wanted one. Or maybe a katana. Yeah, that'd be interesting. So that's your Eshkalars. Lesson number 10, it's a little bit out of place temporally, is displaced temporally, not so bad as it should be, Because your Tarzan is wrong. This has been me and you, and I'm glad that you're in the world.